Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Project Lemons to Lemonade. Our next guest grew his family business to become the largest manufacturer of office furniture in Western Canada. His friends describe him as an engineer with a personality. He's famous among his peers for being the guy who knows everyone. His parents came from Hungary in 1957 to find a better life, and he couldn't speak English until he was 6, but that didn't stop him from thriving. Please welcome Louis Kelemen.
Good morning.
Welcome, Louis.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So we were talking about being a connector. That's your claim to fame, and how can people use, especially introverts, how can they use some of that connectivity, inspiration, or those ideas?
Yeah.
What tips do you have?
Well, I think, yeah, a lot of people that are shy think that they can't meet people. And I think it does start with friends and family. I mean, I use an example of a young fellow I was mentoring, and he was in this situation, didn't know how to go about doing this. I said, well, you got friends? He said, yeah. Do they have parents? Yeah. Well, what do they do? I don't know. Well, you should find out because you probably know them, and I'm sure they would be more than willing to help you if you're there. And so quite often it's looking at who you know that might know someone, and it's all about connectivity. I've never gotten a job in my life where I didn't know someone at the company I ended up going to work for. That's, of course, that's how you get to the top of the resume pile, is by relationships. But it really boils down to then looking at things like tools like LinkedIn, where if you're connected to me, well, you look at my network, and if you see a company that's hiring, you do a search, you try to look and figure out who at that company do you know, and then reach out to them to see if it can help you. And then not being afraid to sometimes ask for help in connecting with someone like myself, or a friend, or a friend's parent, or whatever it might be. And then on occasion, yeah, go to a networking event if you can, and take a stack of business cards. And that's the tough part. That's like speed dating. Not everybody's comfortable with that, but and even I'm not that comfortable with that in a lot of environments. But certainly leveraging the friends and relationships you already have, people have a much larger network than they think they do.
Right, right. And what I've been recommending to some of the people searching for jobs, or even entrepreneurs looking to meet more people, is even go look at people's second connection. So I might
Yes.
look at you and see who you know, and then now I can ask you, hey, Louis, can you introduce me to such and such person? The other thing with being on LinkedIn is you should start commenting on people's profiles, because then your name starts popping up, and there's some awareness of that, because right now we're in a total virtual world.
Yeah.
And like you said, networking is great. And there are so many different virtual meetups right now where you could be having conversations. People are using breakout rooms in Zoom. So those are all amazing things to do. And you mentioned with networking, sometimes it's hard for people who are introverts. And I mentioned in my last video that I had a brain injury in 2018, and it made me be like a super introvert. I could barely say my name, but it's about making things fun. So I just started making things fun. I had like this really, fun little thing that I would say, I wish I was on page 2 of Google, said no one ever, and just tried to, make it fun for me, because it was so frightening to even get out, because I'm like, what if I forget what I'm going to say? So that you want to just figure out strategies to make it fun and interesting.
Yeah, one thing I realized the other day was I have quite a number of CEO friends, and we're all of that age where we've got kids that are in university and afterwards. And it was funny in connecting with these people and talking about our kids. I said, well, so what, we each talk about what each one's doing. I was surprised by how many of these young adults now work for friends of friends.
Hmm.
Right? Where somebody wants to get into construction. Well, we know the president of the lead core. Well, they're always hiring. Why wouldn't you hire your kid? Or you want to get into engineering or nursing or whatever it might be. It really is about looking at who you might know that might know someone, and leveraging relationships, because with the internet has made it really easy to be able to apply for jobs today.
Hmm.
But it's also then increased the competition.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's the last time I was hiring someone, you put a post, do a posting,
Mhm.
and you get a stack, a foot high of
Yes.
resumes. And how do you,
Yeah.
how do you differentiate
Right.
between
It's
these
it's
people?
all
It's just,
about the relationships. Yeah.
yeah,
And Calgary is actually a small, like we always say Calgary's like a town, like the way that our people interact, everybody's so connected and friendly. And so we're kind of like a big town, right? So you need to build those relationships because that's how you're going to stand out.
Yeah, and go to industry, like you mentioned, it would be events in the north, otherwise, but you can also, there's all sorts of industry events or blogs or opportunities to connect. So if you selected an industry that you're really interested in, research it, find out where you can go to network with those type of people, build some relationships within the industry, and become knowledgeable about the industry. At the end of the day, it is about learning and relationships. And so it is about connecting. We talked earlier about things like picking up the telephone and actually talking to people. Email is very impersonal. You can't get the emotion. And so I've been made a point of this opportunity here in the last little while to phone a number of people that I just haven't talked to in a long time. And ask about their kids, talk about their person. So it's not a business call. It's a person to person call. It's building that relationship. And then once you've got that established, then you can get into some business stuff if the opportunity presents itself. But at the end of the day, it's hard to force yourself on anyone. And so, as you said, you have to you have to present yourself in such a way that they see what you have as being valuable.
That's right. What's in it for them? I always teach that in marketing. Everything we do should be like, what's in it for them? Don't talk about you and your company. It's always about the other person trying to solve a problem, right? Yeah. And speaking of solving problems, you've been through a
Well,
couple a couple
yeah.
recessions.
Well, being in manufacturing in Western Canada, it was always very challenging. They were up against Asia, South America, even the southern United States, where the cost of labor was in some cases half, or if you go to Asia, a fraction of what we were paying. So we had to carve out our own niche. It always came back to value. What did we provide that they couldn't get from these other suppliers? Because it certainly wasn't selling on price. So it was about relationships, about us being viewed as a solutions provider. And then when 2008 came along, it changed our world. I mean, there was nobody buying office furniture for quite a number of years, actually, as it turned out, because companies contracted. And then as they reestablished themselves, they had lots of space to grow back into. So again, we had to diversify into new products. We got to make some other changes within the company. We took advantage at various points of programs like the WorkShare program, which is now being flaunted again, about trying to keep more staff, and the government subsidizing some of the staff that you have there versus ending up on EI. And but it always came back to relationships, and there's always a certain amount of activity going on. And then do you find new markets, or do you create new products for the clients you have? Each business is different, but I'm sure there's a lot of people right now strategizing on exactly that. How do we reinvent? And if right now there's been a huge opportunity in the medical side, where companies that make furniture have sewing machines and things like that. Well, okay, why can't we make masks or gowns? Well, you can't. You've got the equipment. It's just a matter of some technology. Maybe you have to hire a person or two that know what they're doing on that. But how do you take lemons and make lemonade, out of this bad situation? And so, and turn your business into a core service, because of course a lot of companies are being shut down because they're not required.
Yeah.
So by getting involved in some of these things, you now all of a sudden have the ability to say, you got to come into work now. You've got to do all sorts of things to protect your staff, but you can now at least keep the doors open and some cash flow and those relationships that you've already built.
Right. Yeah. And it's a huge time of innovation in every recession. It's about getting your team together and really innovating this is what we have. What else could we be doing with this? Right.
Yeah.
So thank you. Thank you for joining us today, Louis.
Well, thank you for having me, and good luck to everybody out there. We're going to look back at this a few years from now and go, wow, how the hell did we get through this? But it will be because of relationships. And every week, I'm connecting, and we're doing different industry groups and things like that, all trying to share information and best practices. Sometimes didn't work versus this is what works, is very, very valuable. So thank you, Daphne, for putting these on. I know every one of these topics are not just for me, but other people you've interviewed are very, very relevant today. And I encourage people to listen to the whole series.